All right, let's get right to it. We're going to go straight to the heart of biology to tackle a huge question. What is it that makes living things, alive? The answer is way smaller and honestly way more amazing than you probably think.
So to get us started, just think about this for a second. What could a person and a tiny little bacterium possibly have in common? I mean, one is this incredibly complex being, and the other is about as simple as life gets.
The answer is so simple, but it's also incredibly profound. They're both made of cells. That's it. Every single living thing, from the smallest germ to the biggest blue whale, is built using the same fundamental Lego brick.
Okay, so how did we even figure this all out? It wasn't some single aha moment. Nope, this was a story that unfolded over centuries, piece by piece, thanks to some brilliant observations.
It really kicked off back in 1665. A guy named Robert Hooke looked at a thin slice of cork through a microscope and saw all these little empty boxes. They reminded him of monastery rooms, so he called them cells. Then, just a few years later, Antony von Leeuwenhoek actually saw living, moving cells. He called them tiny animals, which is just awesome. But it still took another 150 years or so for scientists like Schleiden, Schwann, and Virchow to put all the clues together.
All of their work gave us what we now call cell theory. These are like the 3 unbreakable laws of biology. First, the cell is the most basic unit of life. Second, if you're alive, you're made of cells. And third, this one's a big one, all cells have to come from other cells that already exist. You can't just make one from scratch. Sounds simple, but this idea completely changed science forever. So now we know what a cell is, but it turns out life doesn't just have one blueprint. When it comes to building cells, nature basically uses 2 very different designs.
You've got your simple, no-frills model, the prokaryotic cell, and then you've got the deluxe, feature-packed version, the eukaryotic cell. And the single biggest difference between them comes down to how they handle their most important possession, their DNA.
Prokaryotic cells are the true minimalists of the world. Their DNA just kind of floats around in a central region called the nucleoid. There's no protective office, no internal walls or compartments. You can think of it like a one-room workshop. Everything just happens together in the same open space. This is the design you find in bacteria. Eukaryotic cells are the complete opposite. They are not a one-room workshop. They're more like a massive, sprawling mansion with all sorts of different rooms for different jobs. Their DNA is kept safe and sound in a central command center, the nucleus. And the rest of the cell's filled with all these other specialized structures called organelles. This is the type of cell that makes up you, me, every plant, every animal, basically all the life you can see.
Now, this brings up a really good question. If eukaryotic cells are so complex and organized, why aren't we just one giant cell? Why are we made of trillions of tiny ones instead?
I mean, it seems like it would be more efficient, right? A bigger cell could do more stuff. But there's a fundamental problem, a law of physics that gets in the way. And it all boils down to some simple geometry.
This chart shows the problem perfectly. Here's the deal. As a cell gets bigger, its inside, its volume, grows much faster than its outside skin, its surface area. So look at the small cell here. It has a fantastic surface area to volume ratio of 6:1. But when the cell gets bigger, that ratio gets slashed in half.
And this creates a total traffic jam. The cell's membrane is like its shipping and receiving department. If your internal factory gets huge, but you can't expand your loading docks, you're in big trouble. Nutrients can't get in fast enough, and waste products can't get out. The whole system just gets bogged down and eventually collapses. And that's why cells divide instead of just growing forever. They have to stay small to stay efficient.
Okay, so for our last section, let's zoom back inside that complex eukaryotic cell. We know why it has to stay small, so let's see how it uses all those internal compartments to run its operations. The absolute best way to understand how a cell works is to imagine it as a living, breathing, microscopic city. It's not just a sack of chemicals, it's a highly structured metropolis with a purpose. Every city has to have a border, right? Well, that's the plasma membrane. It acts like the city's border patrol. It's incredibly selective, controlling everything that tries to come in, like food and water, and everything that needs to go out, like waste. Inside the walls, you have the cytoplasm. This is the city's general environment, the ground, the streets, the atmosphere. It's the jelly-like stuff called cytosol, and it's where all the city's important buildings, the organelles, are located. This is where a huge amount of the cell's chemical work gets done. Of course, every city needs a government, and in the cell, that's the nucleus. This is City Hall. It's the main command and control center. It protects the city's most valuable asset, the DNA blueprints, and sends out all the orders for running the entire operation. And finally, you've got the city's workforce, the ribosomes. Think of these as countless little factories scattered all over the city. They receive their building plans from the nucleus and get to work manufacturing proteins. And proteins do almost everything. They're the steel beams, the delivery trucks, the communication signals. They literally build and run the city. So you see, we've gone from the history of its discovery to the physics that shapes its size, all the way to the complex city operating inside. And it all leads us right back to this one powerful truth. The cell is the basic unit of life. It's where everything happens. Which really just leaves us with one final mind-bending thought. If one microscopic cell can be this organized, this complex, and hold the entire instruction manual for life, what happens when trillions of them decide to team up to build something, like a brain, a forest, or you? Well, that is where the story gets even more incredible. Thanks for tuning in.